My name is Madison, and welcome back to the Fleur podcast. Today I have some finished projects, I have some works in progress, I have some hand-dyed yarn, and I have a little yarn haul from a recent trip that I took. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with finished projects, and I'd like to start with the one that I'm wearing because this one makes me so very happy. I think I started this in either October or November. I can't 100% remember. I'm sure I could go back and take a look. I do know that when we went to Denmark in November, I had to buy more yarn for it, and I had it with me to work on. So I know I've at least been working on it since November. This is the Freddie Pullover by em.knits, or Emily Chen is her name. I mean, I've talked about this in previous podcasts, but I absolutely love this. It was so much fun. This was the pattern that I chose based off of my top-down cable knit sweaters. This was the one that I wanted to start with because I already had the yarn. And so it's knit top down, but it is a drop shoulder. So like you knit the back in a panel and then you pick up for the front and you do the front, and then you actually connect all of the panels together and you continue doing the V-neck for a little bit and then you connect in the round. So that was a little bit different. Anytime that I've done like a drop shoulder that you connect, you always finish, like you connect the front and you keep going on the front and then you connect in the round. So this was the first time that it almost felt like I was doing it a little bit backwards, like which side that I picked up first, but it's because the V-neck continues. And I'm very happy with the depth of the V-neck. I'm just like wearing a long sleeve t-shirt underneath. So yeah, I'm very happy with the depth of it. It's very comfy. The only modification that I made to the pattern is the original pattern has like a fold over collar, and I decided to go with more of a Henley style just because I thought it would be a little bit more practical for my wardrobe, and Emily was fine with me making that modification. I don't know if I mentioned I was testing this for her. The pattern is released, but if you've ever run a test knit, sometimes people drop out for different reasons or ghost you for different reasons. So she didn't get all of the feedback that she needed for all of the sizes. So I think I did either size 6 or 7. I think she has like 10 or 11 sizes. So it's a very size inclusive pattern, and I really, really enjoyed knitting it. The only thing I will say, I knit the sleeves too long. I thought I was being so smart because I got to the, like in the pattern, it says to knit like a certain length, and I got to that length and I tried it on. I was like, you know what, like this isn't quite long enough. And when you do like an all over ribbed garment, it sucks in quite a bit when you're knitting it, and when you block it, it stretches out, and when it stretches out, you lose length. So this is like, as you can see, the texture, there's a lot of like, it's basically ribbed with a cable detail down it. So I'm like, you know what, this is going to stretch quite a bit. Why don't I knit the sleeves longer, knowing that I'm going to lose length? So I did that, and I did end up, like, they did go quite wide, but I forgot with a drop shoulder, the body part also is ribbed. So I forgot to take into account the amount of length I was gonna get based on the body stretching out. So they are a little bit too long, as you can see. Like they're very cozy. Like I'm not gonna rip it out and redo it. The thing that I like is I did the cuffs long enough. They're about 2 inches. So when I fold it up right at that line of where the cuff started, it's the perfect length. So I'm probably just gonna wear it with the arms folded up, and then if I need to have any extra warmth, I can always fold them back down and have extra coverage over my hands. So I'm not mad about that part. I was mad at myself just because like I thought I was being so smart, and then it turned out that there's a reason Emily wrote the pattern the way she did and I probably should have just followed it, but that's okay. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to just like live in this sweater until it gets warm enough that I can't wear it anymore. It is knit out of Hobie Highland wool and the Diablo mohair. Mohair is definitely a little bit scratchy, but I'm just gonna wear a t-shirt underneath it, and like this part that hits my neck is not sensitive at all. And I think that's a nice thing about the V-neck, is it's not really hitting you at that most sensitive part of your neck. So yeah. I've only worn it like 2 or 3 times, so I can't really speak to how the wool will wear, but I will keep you updated on how it goes and if it pills or anything like that. This is the first time I've made a garment using this yarn combination, so I'll let you know. Next finished object, I don't think I either hadn't started them yet, or I had just started them and forgot to mention it on the last podcast, but I knit a pair of socks for my mom. If you follow me on Instagram, I made like a little bit of a reel about knitting the second sock on our trip. We recently went to Chicago. There was a death in my husband's family, which was very sad, in his extended family. So we went just to show our support and visit with the family and go to the funeral and stuff like that. So Chicago is about a 6-hour drive, unless your mother-in-law drives the wrong direction for 40 minutes, in which case it takes closer to 7, but that's okay. So I finished it almost the entire sock in the 6 or 7 hours. At the very end, my son, he's not even 1.5 yet, and he hasn't done like a lot of road trips, and he has a hard time napping in the car because there's just so many things to see and whatever. So at the end, I had to sing a lot of songs for like the last hour, so I finished it in the hotel room. But these are for my mom. I've been knitting myself a lot of socks, and she requested a pair. And when somebody requests something, I have a hard time saying no to my family, because they are all knitworthy. They see how much time I spend. Like, none of them are, actually that's not true. My mom used to knit. She has like some gorgeous sweaters, like matching sweaters that she knit her and my dad in like the 80s or 90s, which are super cute. I wonder if she still has those. Sorry, tangent. So these are just a 2x2 rib with a short row heel, and then I continued the rib along the top of the foot, not the bottom of the foot. Oh, actually I did these toe up so that she could try them on. I learned how to knit socks cuff down, and I keep thinking that I prefer cuff down, but you know, toe up is really handy actually, because also you can just knit until you want to and then just be like, I'm done now, and bind off, and they just become little shorty socks. I used Estelle yarn for this. I got it at my local yarn store. It's a Color Story hand painted sock. I don't remember the colorway name, and I got rid of the label, so I don't know the exact colorway, but I really love how it pooled. It like kind of spiraled, but not really. The one sock you can see it a little bit more than the other, but all in all, I think they look really good. And my mom has our son today, and we're gonna go pick him up at the end of the day, and I will give them to her then. The other item that I finished that I'm pretty sure I talked about on the last podcast is the Musselburgh hat that I was knitting for my son out of Knitting for Olive, merino and mohair. This is all I have left. He's wearing it, so I can't show it to you. I will try to, I'll like put a picture up on the screen. It's a very, very dark green. This is all I have left. They come in 50-gram balls of the merino and 25-gram balls of the mohair, and I think that the 50 and the 25, they're almost the same yardage. They're very close to the same yardage. And I didn't use a whole one of either of them for his hat. And I'm pretty sure I knit it to be as long as the pattern said. So yeah, and I have 2 more balls of the merino and 2 more balls. No, I have 4. I have 4 more balls of the merino and 4 more balls of the mohair to knit me and my husband matching hats. So I definitely will have enough to knit 2 more hats and like maybe like a little pair of mittens or something for myself, because like it was just the child size. It wasn't the smallest size. I think it was the second size, like the toddler size. So yeah, I'm very happy. The only thing I will say, I've never used Knitting for Olive before. This was my first time. This bled a lot. Like I had to wash it 2 or 3 times for it to stop bleeding. So I don't know if it's the merino or the mohair or both. It is like one of their darkest colors, so that could be like, it's very, very pigmented. Like I think it's showing up almost black on my screen here. It's slate green is the color. It's just like a very, very dark foresty green. So maybe that's why it bled. I'm not 100% sure, but just something to keep in mind if you're using like a really dark color from Knitting for Olive. I don't know if this is normal or not, but the mohair is very, very soft. I actually find it softer in the ball than I do knit up. It was very, very soft in the ball, and knit up, it's a little bit scratchier, which I was also a little bit disappointed about. I mean, obviously compared to the Diablo, which is like half acrylic, it's gonna be soft, but yeah, it's okay. Like I bought a mohair base from like a supplier for Bear yarns here in Canada that I tried, and I find that mohair softer than this one. So I don't know. Anyway, the next pattern, this is not, okay, I'm into like half finished objects because this has been blocked and seamed and I thought I was going to be done. So this is the Cottage Living sweater that I am testing for Victoria Marchant Knits. It is a bulky weight sweater, drop shoulder, that has like a little bit of embroidery at the front of it. And I had some boucle in stash that I just thought would be incredible for it. I was right. It is incredible. I love it so much. It's like wearing a hug. It is going to be like incredible, 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 incredible. It is killer on my hands. So I am holding boucle double, and I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. I think if I have more boucle in my stash, so I am going to use it again, but I don't think I'm going to hold it double. I think I will hold it with another strand of something. Like this is alpaca boucle, so whether I hold it with another strand of alpaca or with merino or wool or whatever, I think I'm going to do that because the double boucle is really, really hard on my hands. It might be the combination of, I think it's 6.5mm needles, and then you knit the front and the back in panels and then seam it up. And the purl rows were definitely harder on my hands than the knit rows. And I've never really found that purling, like I know that some people say that they don't really like purling and purling is really hard on their hands. I've never found that before. This is the first time that like I could really feel it in my wrist, and I could feel it as I was doing it. Like I could see that I was holding my hands differently to knit with this, just so that I wouldn't pick up all of the loops and stuff. So if you have a hard time with pain in your hands when you're knitting, I would not recommend knitting boucle double stranded. That being said, so the way that you knit this pattern is you knit the back panel, and then you pick up and you knit the 2 shoulders, and then you connect and you knit the front panel, then you do the collar, and then you block it and you seam up the sides as far as they need to go, and then you pick up for the arms. You do it this way so that you can customize how wide you want the armhole to be, which I think is a great pattern feature. I really thought after I seamed this up, after I finished knitting it and I was blocking it, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to have to make a vest version. I'm not going to be able to do the sleeves. It's just too hard on my hands. And then I blocked it and I seamed it up and I tried it on, and it is just so perfect. It's so, so perfect. I think I'm going to attempt doing sleeves because I just want this sweater. And like, it would totally work as a vest. I think I would get more use out of it if it had sleeves on it. So I am hoping that knitting in the round in a smaller circumference instead of going back and forth will help. We'll see. I'm gonna pick up a sleeve and I'm gonna try it. And if it's too hard on we also have until June. So like, I could do a few rows at a time every few days and probably be able to get it done. So we're just gonna see. So I thought this was gonna be a finished object because it does fit perfectly, and I would be able to leave it just like this if I wanted to, but I think I'm going to attempt doing sleeves. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's like a warm hug. It's so cozy. I love it so much. So that's like a finished object that's not actually a finished object. The other thing that I wanted to mention is my first pattern is officially live. So I wrote up and tested a pattern for the Fleur Sock, which is like a base vanilla sock and then has the Crown of Daisies colorwork expansion included with it. The main feature of this sock is that there's instructions to mix and match sizes. If you have a different leg circumference than a foot circumference, sometimes, like myself included, I have a wider calf and a thinner like ankle and foot. And so I've been having to adjust either my gauge or my stitch count or whatever just to make it fit nicely. So I have included instructions in the pattern for that. I will link the Ravelry and the Etsy. I have it listed on both, and you can purchase the pattern with the color work, or you can purchase just the color work on its own if you would like. It will work with any sock that has like a stitch count divisible by 8. So like your general 64 stitch sock, it will work with that if you already have a vanilla sock that you enjoy knitting. I did release this last week, and there was like a discount on it for the first weekend. I didn't manage to film a podcast, unfortunately, for the release of it. So if you would like to purchase it, I will have a discount code in the description box below so that you can still get 20% off of the pattern. I don't know how long I'll put it up there for, but it'll at least be there for like a week. So that is my pattern. Now let's do some more works in progress after I have some coffee. So I have two main works in progress that I'm working on that you haven't seen because they were kind of on a whim cast-ons. So I finished a pair of socks, so I cast on another pair of socks. This is a Knit Picks yarn. I think it's the Stroll hand painted, or maybe one of their old static colors. I don't really remember. I got this quite a while ago. I absolutely love how the stripes are coming out. And I even like the heel. So I actually started doing a heel flap and gusset on this, not remembering, or I guess forgetting, that when you do a heel flap and gusset on self-striping yarn, because you have so many more stitches around the gusset, it totally throws off the stitch pattern. So I really liked how the heel flap looked with like the slip stitches and stuff, but I did not like the way that the self-striping pattern changed. So I ripped that out and I did wrap and turn heel flap, which is like my go-to. I have it memorized heel flap that I do. And it turned out perfectly. Like there's not even a gap. I've only done like maybe 3 rows, but there's not even a gap after the heel flap. Like this, the striping turned out perfectly, which I can't believe that happened. And I really like how the heel looks. It's pretty seamless overall. So that is pretty cool. I think these are gonna be for me, we'll see. I'm using these needles that I just recently got. When we went to Chicago, I got recommended by some people on Instagram to go to Woolen Company, which is like in the Chicago area. It is a knitting store. I got the most amazing yarn, which I'll show you in a bit. But I got these, they had the Chow Goo red lace tips, which like I think they're a little bit sharper than normal. So I got the 2mm because I have been finding, I've been wearing my knitted socks a lot more, and I have been finding that like I'm a pretty loose knitter, and I think I need to knit my socks at a tighter gauge. The 2.5 right out. Like they get so saggy and they don't fit. I need to wash them and put them in the dryer like every single time I wear them, which is just not practical. Like those ones are not gonna last, unfortunately. So I decided to, I've been wanting to try these, and I figure I do enjoy doing magic loop. I learned how to do socks on DPNs, but I think for like travel and stuff, this is just a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about like a million needles and stuff. So I decided to try it out, and I really like the fabric that I'm getting. It's very dense, but still stretchy, but I don't think it'll stretch out too much. So I think I'm gonna make these ones for myself and see how they wear. But I also think that I'll have enough to, my dad also requested a pair of socks. So I think once I finish, I'm just gonna do, like these are just shorties. Like I've already done the heel. I think I did a 20 row ribbing and maybe a 30 row leg. And now I'm doing the heel. I did the heel and now I'm doing the foot. Anyway, I think that I will have enough. If I do maybe a contrast heel and toe, I'll be able to knit my dad a pair of socks out of this yarn as well. So that is the sock whip that I have right now. And the second work in progress is a sweater for my son, and I am so happy with how it's turning out. So this is the Sibling Sweater by Penrose. I've knit this before for my nephew, and now I'm knitting my son one. I love like the 90s palette that I went for. So this is Quince & Co. Finch yarn that I got from Fia, which is a yarn store based out of Halifax. So it's like, it's not local to me, but it's at least Canadian. And something about this yarn, I'm like trying to find a better word, but it is so plump. I don't like that word. It makes me cringe a little bit, but I can't think of a better word for it because this is fingering weight yarn. One 50-gram skein is 220 yards. I think they're American, so I think it's in yards. Anyway, whether it's 220 yards or 220 meters, like that puts it solidly in the fingering weight category. This is a DK weight pattern, and I am getting gauge with a nice fabric with one strand. I tried doing a gauge swatch with 2 strands, and it was so dense, like it was not gonna work. So I am like, do you know what? Like, let's just try with 1 strand, see what happens. Worst case scenario, I can get some mohair or knit a different pattern or whatever. I got gauge, perfectly on gauge. In fact, my row gauge is a little bit bigger somehow. So I'm having to be careful for that. But yeah, this yarn is just, it's so crazy. It's 100% American non-superwash wool, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm using 3 different colors. There's like a navy blue, a purple, and like another forest green. And yeah, it's just incredible. I love it so much. I've been weaving in the ends as I go, and that's the only part that I can kind of see it's not working out super great to weave in my ends, but I'm hoping with blocking it will chill out a little bit. But yeah, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So now I'm connected in the round, and I just have the body to do just plain knitting. So that should not take me too long. And it's so stretchy, like it's not hard on my hands at all to knit with. It's just the most unique yarn I think that I've ever worked with. It is so fascinating to me how I'm getting a DK gauge with a fingering weight yarn. Like that's just mind-blowing. So yeah, that's the other project that I'm working on. I have other works in progress that you've seen in other podcasts, but I'm just showing you the ones like that I'm actively working on. I've done a few rows here and there, but like on other projects, but there's not much to talk about yet. So I will leave those for when there is something to talk about. Now I have quite a bit of yarn to show you. So if you are not interested in yarn, thank you for coming and spending time with me. See you in the next episode. If you do want to stick around and look at yarn, I've got a lot of yarn. As I said, we went to Chicago and we went to Wool & Company, but I also have been dyeing yarn because I've been experimenting with a bunch of different techniques and different yarn bases and stuff like that. So I have a few skeins of my own hand-dyed yarn to show you. I'm just realizing now that I left some upstairs. So I'm gonna go get that. So one of the dyers that I have been following for a while is Allison Barnes Yarn, who is a hand dyer based out of Edmonton. I was gonna say Edmonton, Ontario, Edmonton, Alberta, I'm pretty sure. And she also has a Dyer Collective Instagram account that I discovered in January, where she puts like a monthly prompt up and invites other artisans, hand dyers. I think this month somebody did like a hand painted canvas or something, like fabric, which was beautiful. And so February was the first month that I decided to do the prompt. I'll put a picture on the screen somewhere of what the prompt was. And this was the yarn that I dyed. So I also was wanting to experiment with 2 new to me bases that I had never seen anywhere and I had never worked with before. I'd never dyed, obviously, because I have barely any experience dyeing on anything other than sock yarn. So this is a superwash merino mohair nylon, and I don't know if you can see the halo. I think you can. Like there's such a beautiful halo on that. And it turned out really, really pretty. Dye hits superwash so much different than it hits non-superwash. I can't get over the difference. This is also, it's like kind of applied yarn. So it looks like the merino and mohair is one strand and then it's surrounded by the nylon. I don't know if you can kind of see there. The color is not true to real life. I'll put some pictures up of it. So this one turned out like a really pretty tonal. The speckles didn't show up on this one like it does on like a superwash 4-ply sock yarn. But it still is very, very pretty, and I'm looking forward to either knitting a swatch or doing something just to see how it went. And then the other one I did is this non-superwash, single ply, thick and thin, 100% wool. And well, it's felted a little bit. I couldn't believe how easy it was to felt a non-superwash single ply. Like, I've done non-superwash 4-ply and it has been like a little bit touchy, but not bad at all. This one, I'm like, I almost ruined it. It was so hard to wash. So actually, this is not exactly how I dyed it. I actually had to, so I dyed it, washed it. I was very worried that it was gonna felt. I let it dry completely. And then I put it on my Swift, and using my Nitty Knotty, I wound it off of my Swift into a new skein just to kind of like help separate the fibers. And it looks like dreadlocks a little bit, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to look like. So I'm not going to sell this one. I might see what I can knit up with one skein of bulky, thick and thin. It's like, it's not very soft, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this. I don't think I'll, like, I have one more skein of this. I don't know if I'm going to buy this anymore because I don't really know what someone would do with this. I mean, I guess you could make it into a sweater if you had enough of it, but it's not my vibe. So I'll see what I can do with this. And I have one more skein that I'll maybe do the prompt next month. And then this is the yarn mop that I had. So this just turned out to be like a very pretty tonal rose color. It's got a little bit of speckles from where the dye broke a little bit. I learned with this one, so it didn't turn out quite as dark as I wanted it to be, but I discovered that there's a limit to how much dye yarn can soak up. You can't just keep adding pigment. Like, at a certain point, it just is what it is. So I had a lot of dye left over that I used to dye this guy. So this is a 4-ply 75/25 worsted weight sock yarn, superwash. Just a pretty rose color. Pretty. So that was fun. Another experiment I did was with like kind of a, I experimented with like dissolving dye in water and doing speckles at the same time. So that turned out so nice. It kind of looks like a robin's egg. It's like a little bit more tealy, maybe minty than a robin's egg, but with the speckles and everything, like it's just very, very robin's egg. And I did 3 skeins in the same pan. So like they're the same lot, like color lot, but they still look very different from each other, which I think is fascinating. I'm very tempted to keep these ones for myself because I like them so much. So unless you see these and you absolutely fall in love, send me a message and I can post them for you. But I might do like a spring Tolsta tee, either held double, probably held double, because the fingering weight Tolsta tee that I have is taking forever. So I'll probably do a DK weight. But yeah, I was very, oh, I love those ones. And that one's a 80/20 superwash merino and nylon sock yarn, and it is so soft, so soft. And then this one is the mop from that one. I had just like some leftover that I didn't need all of it to dye it the way that I wanted to, and so this one turned out a little bit more moody. I'm gonna try to post pictures of them. It's so hard. Man, I really respect the hand dyers and people who like take photos of their yarn. It is so hard to get accurate color picture. The yarn never turns out as nice in pictures as it does in person. So if you are ever looking at my yarn on Etsy, just know that it's probably twice as pretty in person because my photography skills are not quite there yet. Maybe eventually, but yeah. So that was the dye mop for that. This one I wanted to try a variegated, it's like a tonal speckle using the same dye color. So I dyed it as a tonal first, and then using the same color, I speckled it over top. But I don't know if you can see, the color broke a little bit, so I got a bunch of different colors of speckles, which I think is really cool. I love not knowing how the color is going to interact. I just think it's so cool. And it smells good too. So yeah, it's definitely very speckly and just very, yeah, very nice. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this one yet. Might post it, might use it. Who knows? Who knows? The other thing I tried was a fade, which turned out really well. And I'm very, very happy with it. It's very hard to hold up. So again, I'll try to post a picture of it. But it goes, so they're all speckled with the same amount of the same colors. But after I dyed them in a different like ratio of color. It's supposed to be black, but it's definitely turned out purple. But that's okay. I really like it. It's very pretty. I don't know if this one, it's so hard. It's like I want to use all of the yarn that I dye, but I also want to use all of the yarn that I have and all of the yarn that I bought. So it's fun experimenting, but I also need to let them go. I might post this set because it is very pretty and I would love to see what someone makes with it. I think that if I dye something and I don't have an immediate idea of what to make with it and I just think it's pretty, I should list it. But we'll see. I think the middle one is my favorite. Oh, it's so pretty. So this is a 75-25 superwash sock yarn. Mini skein. So they're all 20 grams. So 100 grams total. Which could make for a very cute shawl. I think there's lots of stuff you could do with 100 grams, but I just don't know what I would do with it. That brings us to the yarn that I got at Wool & Company. I tried to focus on things that either I had never seen the company before, or I know that my local yarn store doesn't carry it, or things that I've seen but I know that it's expensive to get in Canada, shipped to Canada, whatever. So let's start with the hedgehog fibers. I have been wanting to try hedgehog fibers, and so like Wool & Company had a huge selection of hedgehog fibers, which was so fun. So I went through their minis wall and I got 4 minis. So they're 20 gram minis. I got 2 like variegated ones. They are Down by the River. So it is blue, green, and purple. My favorite colors right now. And then I got 2 like kind of solid tonals that I think will go really well with that. And I'm going to knit myself a pair of socks. After I finish my other pair and I figure out what gauge is perfect, because I want to like actually be able to wear these. So I got the minis. I got a full 100 gram skein, Damsel, which is purple, green, and blue. If you can sense a theme, you're not gonna be disappointed. Oh, so pretty. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do with this one. I might make myself another Musselburgh hat, but I also might just go and rewatch. I recently put out a size inclusive pattern roundup for like special skeins of hand-dyed yarn. So I might go through those patterns again and pick something that I can use this as like the showstopper part, because it's just so, oof, oh, so pretty. The next one I got, this is the color I was looking for. So if you've been here since the beginning, wow, thank you. But you'll know that I was looking for like a highlighter yellow to make my nephew and my brother a hat. In Denmark, I found like a bright, like a high vis orange, which turned out really well. It was DK, so the hats stretched out quite a bit, and I'm like, they still wear them all the time and they get compliments on them all the time. It's so cute. Like when they go and do groceries and my brother and his son are wearing matching bright orange hats, it's like people stop them all the time and compliment them, which I think is adorable. But this is what I was looking for. So this is 100 grams. It took me less than 50 to knit my son a Musselburgh hat. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to knit my nephew a Musselburgh hat, and then with what I have left over, start knitting my brother a Musselburgh hat, and I'm just gonna knit as much as I can, and then I will make up the rest of it with another color, because the nice thing about the Musselburgh is the inside of it is on the inside. You can't see it. So I can do like a half and half for him, I think. Or at least I'll be able to do, maybe I'll do that for both actually. If I do half of my nephews and half of my brothers, that'll go even further. That's a good idea. I should do that. See, this is why I need to do the podcast. It gives me good ideas. So that's the hedgehog fiber yarn that I got. I got this yarn from the Fiber Co., which is called Meadow Rustic Luxury. It is a blend of baby llama, silk, linen, and merino. Non-superwash, a heavy lace weight, which gives me 545 yards, almost 500 meters in each skein, and I bought 2 of them. So this is like a purple blue. It's almost iridescent. It's like every time the light hits it, you pick up a different color. It's so pretty. And then I thought the pink, I just really picked up the pink sheen to it. So I think I'm going to do the Daft Days shawl with this. There is someone I have been wanting to knit a gift for, and I really think that she would love a shawl. Sometimes I can't, like, I've never knit with something that has parts of linen in it, and sometimes I can't tell if it's a linen fiber or if it's like hay. That one's definitely hay. No, it might be linen. I really can't tell. But anyway, I think that this will make a very pretty Daft Days shawl. Now, the Daft Days shawl is by Rebecca Clow, and it calls for fingering weight. This is a heavy lace weight, so I might need to adjust my needle size. My gauge might be a little bit off, but with a shawl, scarf, shawl, blanket, like, does gauge really matter? I don't think it does. I have lots of yarn here, so even if my gauge is a little bit off, but I have more yarn, so I think it'll even out and it'll still give me a nice size shawl. So that's my plan for that. I bought some Lang sock yarn in white and blue. I have an idea for another pair of colorwork socks that I think that would look really good in. So I bought that for that. I bought, this is Earth Yarns. I'd never seen this company before. It is called Spiral Grain. It is sport weight, 100% superwash extra fine merino, 180 meters per 50 grams. So I got 2 skeins of this in their rainbow eucalyptus color. I thought that this would be a very good like spin cycle replacement for a colorwork pattern or one of Andrea Mowry's patterns. Another spin cycle-esque yarn that I got is this Manas del Uruguay Marla, which I believe is a DK weight. It's 100% superwash merino. It is 250 meters per 100 grams. So I'm pretty sure that falls around a DK. And again, just very earthy colors, some green and rust and orange and yellow. I think it would be a beautiful contrast color for a color work. I don't have like a specific pattern picked out for either of those yarns, but I'm sure I can come up with something. And the last thing that I got is a set of 21 mini hanks. So this is Woolstock worsted by Blue Sky Fibers. It is their Bramble and Fig color pack. So it's got a bunch of different colors of purple, blue, and green. And I think that this will be a perfect set along with this main color, which is the same base, about 150 grams. What color is this? Driftwood. So it's just like a very neutral cream color. I think that this will make a very pretty, Laura Penrose has the Sweet Shop blanket. That's the one. So I think she's also coming out. She did the Stella quilt cushion, and I think that she's coming out with the blanket version of that pattern as well. So I'll have to take a look at what the yarn requirements are for that, but if not, I will do the Sweet Shop blanket, because I just think that I've been wanting to do a blanket, and I think it would look really pretty and it would match my house nicely. So yeah, that is all my yarn. So that is all my yarn that I got. It's a lot. I'm not going to apologize for that. I am a grown adult. I made my decisions, and I'm very happy with those decisions. So hopefully I can start on some of these projects soon. I think the first one I'm going to start on is going to be the Daft Days shawl, because I would love to gift that soon-ish. I don't 100% know how long it would take me, but I've heard from other people that it's like a very, I don't know if repetitive is the right word, but like just like it's a easy to memorize like stitch repeat because it's slipping stitches and stuff. So I think that I'd be able to get into that nicely. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I know this was kind of like a long, rambly episode. I have tried to set up probably 4 times. I have filmed this once and it was unusable because I was so rambly, and I was like stuffed up for a week after getting home from Chicago. I think it was just the dry hotel air. It was so terrible. So that was almost completely unusable. So I had to try again. But hopefully this one is a little bit more usable. I never really know how to conclude the episode. Maybe one day I'll feel less awkward filming myself, but today is not that day. So Thanks for watching and putting up with me. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, happy crafting.